Hey guys, welcome into the 14. I'm Nick Cole, and we're breaking down all of the Week 11 SEC football games from a betting perspective. Today, we're talking about the Kentucky Wildcats visiting the Vanderbilt Commodores. This game's going to be played on Saturday, November 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 6 p.m. local time in Nashville, as this game's going to be played at Vanderbilt Stadium. It's going to be televised on ESPN2. From a betting perspective, this game opened with Kentucky as a 19-point road favorite. The line has since moved to Kentucky favored by 21 as of Thursday afternoon. The over-under opened at 52.5 and is held firm as of the recording of this video. I'll bring in our betting analyst, Christopher Smith. Christopher, this is a game that typically people want to throw away from a viewing standpoint, but for some reason it's on ESPN2 this week. What do you think?
Yeah, quite the schedule in the next 2 weeks in the SEC before rivalry week. But hey, we can make money on any of them. Also, I think Kentucky is going to be a Final Four contender in basketball by the end of this year. But a lot of new pieces. They lost to Duke. So maybe, despite the 3-game losing streak, maybe the football team can and get a few eyeballs on this game on TV before Kentucky basketball gets going. But why don't you tell us the weather, injuries, and next news and notes?
Sure. So we'll start with the weather. It's that time of year in Nashville. We've got temperatures in the 40s for kickoff for this game, but it's going to be clear and the wind's going to be pretty manageable at 4 to 6 miles per hour. So nothing to concern you as you place your bets. On the injury side of things for Kentucky, defensive tackle Marquand McCall and outside linebacker Jordan Wright are questionable for this game. Wide receiver Isaiah Epps missed the Tennessee game, so you need to watch for his status. And then right guard Eli Cox is out for the season after getting hurt against the Vols. On the Vanderbilt side of things, quarterback Ken Seals, who's missed the last few games for the Commodores, returned to practice this week and is questionable for the game. Running back Rocco Griffin also questionable. Offensive lineman Ben Cox and safety DeRicky Wright are questionable against Kentucky as well. So those are some names to watch going into Saturday evening. On the news and notes side of things, let's start with Kentucky, and you alluded to the losing streak. This is the team that, if there ever was a need for a get-right game, they're the team that needs it, and they need it right now. After starting the season 6-0, they've dropped 3 in a row, and that includes a tough 45-42 loss at home against Tennessee last week. They left a bad taste in their mouths all the way around, whether it be the struggling defense, the questionable officiating, the poor late-game drive execution, on and on and on. There are all kinds of things that Kentucky fans feel really sour about from that game. But they're looking at a Vanderbilt team that is winless in the league this year. And could that be just what the doctor ordered to get this dream season that they thought they had going back on track? And then on the Vanderbilt side of things, Christopher, we talk about being in the right spot when you're betting on a team and often on this show. And Vanderbilt is in that classic good spot that we'd like to talk about. They're coming off of a bye week. They had a later bye week than the rest of the league this year. So they're fresh on that. And their team's going to enjoy a home game. It's the final home game of the season for the Commodores on Saturday. So you got that extra juice of senior night and all that kind of thing. So rested and perhaps a little bit more healthy at key spots like quarterback, where we might see Ken Seals come back and play at least in tandem with Mike Wright. And then also at running back with Rocco Griffin. The extra time in prep, for both recovery and prep might be just enough for Vanderbilt to cover this spread and maybe even contend to win a game outright if they're going to try to break that losing streak. It wouldn't be the first time this season that we saw Vanderbilt surprise us and cover a spread, despite the troubling defensive metrics we've seen from the Commodores and the injuries and ineffectiveness at times on the offensive side of the ball. Look at both the South Carolina game and the Missouri game for examples of games that they didn't win, but they covered the spread and made bettors money. Christopher, is this another case where Vanderbilt might be able to do that this week?
Well, we know good teams win, and Vanderbilt doesn't win in the SEC, so they're not a good team, but great teams cover and make you money. And you just mentioned 2 games that Vanderbilt covered in. They should have covered in 3 of the last 4, if not for just an embarrassing performance on the plus side of the field against a Gators team that was begging for them to cover the spread in that game. So you mentioned the bye, playing at home. And give Vanderbilt credit. They're better than I thought they would be. Forget the wins. Just from a power rating standpoint, you can be really bad and lose every game, or you can be way worse and lose every game. And it doesn't look different in the record, but it sure does look different in how you're playing. So give Vanderbilt credit, and they've gotten better as the season's gone along, in my opinion. On the other side, Kentucky is off of 3 consecutive straight up losses, and they failed to cover the last 2 spreads. So for me, actually, I didn't drop Kentucky at all in my power rankings. I didn't have to adjust for that because I had them right where they were, losing those games and not being as good as most people thought. So I think the media and perhaps some of the betting market had to correct where they thought Kentucky was, even after the Georgia game where they kind of played decently well. But for me, my valuation on the team has pretty much stayed the same. But perhaps on both Vanderbilt and Kentucky, the true sort of betting market value may have normalized after the recent last 3 or 4 weeks and the results there. So maybe there's less value in this game because of that. But in the SEC, it's about what we always say is the line of scrimmage league. And Kentucky should have a major advantage at the line of scrimmage. And this game should is the key word there. But Kentucky's run defense is 28th in EPA per snap. And Kentucky's run offense is 37th. Vanderbilt is 104th and 112th in that same stat. Kentucky defensive line is 35th in stuff rate. Vanderbilt offensive line 114th in stuff rate allowed. Kentucky second on offense in average line yards, first in opportunity rate, third in stuff rate. Vanderbilt 88th in average line yards, 129th in sack rate. So at the line of scrimmage, every stat you go down, big advantage to Kentucky across the board there. The only thing I'll say on the other side is that Kentucky's defense has given up 30, 31, and 45 points the last 3 times they've taken the field. Nick, you mentioned the injuries, especially along the defensive line. I think Vanderbilt may move the ball a bit in this game, but I see this as maybe like a public perception rebound for the Kentucky defense. Not for me, but I think some people in public may see their performance against Vanderbilt and say, oh, wow, finally, Kentucky's defense has gotten better. When really it's more about the competition that they've faced, both before better competition and now worse competition has been changing the way they look as well as the injuries. So, Nick, who are you betting on this game?
Well, Christopher, before I tell you who I'm betting on, I want to give our viewers an opportunity to pad their wallet a little bit as they start to bet on this game. Here at Southeastern 14, we're pleased to announce we have a new deal with Action 24/7 Sportsbook. And as part of that deal, we've got a promotion offer that is really good. With the season in full swing, Action 24/7 is celebrating special deals for new customers for a limited time only. Get your deposit matched 100% up to $800. So if you sign up today, make your first deposit using code SOUTH14, that's SOUTH14, and Action will double your money up to $800. So download the app or visit action247.com to get things started. Action 24/7 is by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. You've got action. And as I'm assessing the Commodores and how I feel about where they're at in this season coming off a bye week, trying to figure out how to bet this game, my action, unfortunately for Commodores fans, I think is on Kentucky. I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier. The line of scrimmage battle on both sides of the ball favors Kentucky just too much for me to feel good about betting on the Commodores. Although, if you've been tracking this, every time I've bet against Vanderbilt, I've been doing them a favor. They typically have surprised and covered. That South Carolina game, that Missouri game or two that stick out in my head. I think I also picked the other way on a game early in the season, maybe Colorado State, that they ended up winning outright. So I'm going to do you Commodores fans a favor. I'm going to pick Kentucky. I'm going to lay that 21. I do like the under in this game, 52.5. I think because Kentucky may control the pace of this game, control the line of scrimmage, I think they would like to play a run it out, grind it out type of game if they had their preference. Even though that Wildcats defense has struggled in the last few games, as you said, Christopher, I don't know that the Commodores offense is going to be enough to push us over that total. So give me the under 52.5, Kentucky minus 21 for my picks. I don't know that I'm actually putting any real cash on the board this week on this game. How do you feel about it?
I'll go with Vanderbilt plus 21. I don't like the side or feel good about it at all, but from a pure numbers standpoint, this is inflated from any respected betting model, which makes sense. Vanderbilt's not going to be attracting a lot of money in this game. So if you want to bet Kentucky, you're going to have to pay a little bit of a premium to do so. So just for that reason, I'll go with Vanderbilt, although I'm not going to actually bet it with my own money. And then I will follow your lead and go with under 52.5 as well. I think it's interesting though, because in some ways, cashing an under in this game is actually dependent on Vanderbilt's offense having a good game, if you can believe that. Just because I think, Vanderbilt needs to move the ball and run some time off the clock and not give Kentucky a bunch of short fields in possession. Just to kind of, because I don't expect Vanderbilt to, get into the plus territory and just go off for a bunch of touchdowns or, go off on a bunch of explosive plays. But if they can move the chains and kind of shorten the game a little bit and kind of make sure that Kentucky doesn't have great field position all day, I think that actually helps the under. So for Nick Cole, I'm Christopher Smith for the 14, and we'll talk to you next week.